1,409 photographs came back from the moon. Not one of them shows Neil Armstrong's face. Think about that. The first human being to stand on another world, and the still record barely contains him. To understand why, you have to walk the film frame by frame, magazine by magazine, exactly as the cameras exposed it. And the truth hidden inside that gap is stranger than the myth. Start with the hardware, because the hardware explains everything. Apollo 11 carried 3 Hasselblad 500 EL bodies, motor-driven, electric, built to run in a vacuum. The camera that went down to the surface wore a Zeiss Biogon 60mm f5.6 lens. The black and white film was Kodak Panatomic X, rated ASA 80. The color was Kodak Ektachrome, 70mm film, loaded into 9 magazines. When it was over, those magazines held 1,409 exposures, 1,408 of them usable, 857 in black and white, 551 in color. But here's the first thing most people get wrong. There is no photograph of the launch taken by the crew. None. Search the verified record and you will not find a single still Hasselblad frame of the rocket leaving the pad. The fire, the tower falling away. The roll program, that's all 16mm motion film and ground cameras. Separate systems. So when someone shows you a crisp still of Apollo 11 climbing off Launch Complex 39A and calls it a crew photograph, treat it as unverified. The astronaut's still camera doesn't wake up until they're already in space. Where it does wake up is Magazine N, NASA number 36, loaded with color film. 142 frames cataloged AS 11-36-5291 through 54. This is the quiet beginning. The translunar coast and the early lunar orbit, Earth shrinking in the window, the cramped cabin interior, the crew themselves weightless, 3 days from a place no human had ever touched. Ordinary moments, except every one of them is being recorded 250,000 miles from any darkroom. If a frame failed, no one was reloading it. Then they reach the moon, and the cameras multiply their coverage. Magazine R, number 37 color, captures the lunar surface photographed straight out through the lunar module windows, still from orbit. Magazine O, number 38, color, turns to the lunar far side, the hemisphere no one on Earth ever sees. Magazine Q, number 39. This one, black and white, is more surface, shot again through the LM windows. These are the reconnaissance frames. The astronauts are cataloging a world through glass before anyone steps onto it. And then comes the magazine that changed the 20th century. Magazine S NASA, number 40, color film. 128 frames, AS 11-40-5844 through 5-1970. This is the lunar surface EVA at Tranquility Base, the iconic set. Nearly every photograph you have ever seen of a human being on the moon lives inside these 128 exposures. And this is where the mystery from the opening starts to resolve. Inside Magazine 40 sits a short sequence, frames 5876 through 5880, the Soil Mechanics series. One of them, AS 11-40-5877, is a photograph of a single boot print pressed into lunar dust. Buzz Aldrin's boot. Not a casual snapshot, a deliberate scientific record of how the surface deformed under a human step, on a world where no wind or rain would ever erase it. And then, frame, AS 11-40-5903. If you have ever pictured an astronaut on the moon, you have pictured this. It's Aldrin. Standing on the surface, and in the curved gold of his visor, you can see the whole scene reflected. The lunar module, the desolate ground, and the tiny figure of Neil Armstrong holding the camera. Ektachrome film, 60mm lens. It is arguably the most famous portrait ever taken off Earth. But look again at who's in it. Aldrin. And who's reflected, small and distorted in the visor? Armstrong. That's the answer to the question I opened with. Almost every surface still is of Aldrin. Because Armstrong was the one holding the camera nearly the entire time. There is no clear, full-body, still portrait of Neil Armstrong standing on the moon. The man who took the first step exists in the photographic record mostly as a reflection in another man's helmet, not by conspiracy, by the simple accident of who carried the camera. The most documented moment in human history has a hole in it exactly where you'd least expect one. The film keeps rolling after the surface. Magazine P, number 41, black and white, returns to lunar orbit. Magazine U, number 42, black and white, more orbit. Magazine T, number 43, black and white, orbit again. Magazine V, number 44, color, lunar orbit once more. 4 magazines of orbital work bracketing the surface excursion, the crew methodically photographing the moon from above before turning for home. And then there's the 9th magazine, the one that wasn't even a Hasselblad. Magazine W, number 45. Its frames carry an odd catalog signature, AS1145-6697A through 6I714A. That letter A is a clue. These are close-up stereo pairs, twin images of the lunar soil taken inches from the ground. They didn't come from the Hasselblad at all. They came from a separate instrument, the Apollo Lunar Surface Close-Up Camera. The engineers called it the Gold Camera, named for the scientist Thomas Gold, who championed it. On Apollo 11, it yielded 17 good stereo pairs. Its entire purpose was to see the moon closer than a human eye ever could, to capture the fine structure of the dust grain by grain, in 3 dimensions. 17 intimate portraits of alien soil, shot by a camera most people have never heard of. So that is the full chronological arc of the still record. From cabin and translunar coast in Magazine N, through orbit, farside, and window surveys, into the 128 surface frames of Magazine 40 that gave us the boot print and the visor portrait, back out to 4 orbital magazines, and finally down to 17 close-up stereo pairs from the Gold Camera. Now, one last honesty. What you cannot get, anywhere, is a verified, caption-by-caption narration of all 1,408 frames. That total is confirmed. The camera specs are confirmed. The per-magazine coverage is confirmed. The famous frames are confirmed. But a certified description of literally every single exposure does not exist in one place. If you want to go deeper than a magazine's subject range, you have to open the LPI Apollo Image Atlas and read the record frame by frame yourself. And when you do, you'll keep circling back to the same absence. 1,408 usable photographs, the boot print that will outlast every one of us, the visor that reflects the entire mission, and still, no clear portrait of the first man to stand there. The most photographed voyage in history, and its central figure is a reflection. Why do you think we never noticed until now?